session for the 2016 budget.
Thank you, Mayor Carlett. We've made good progress in the first part of the evening. The last part tonight we'd like to cover is the capital improvement program, and this, of course, is a significant part of our budget, and it is that part that you dedicate the funds to the projects for the future. The roads, the parks, the public facilities that our citizens depend on for their quality of life. It's a huge part of what we do as a city, and Peoria has an outstanding record of delivering excellent facilities for their citizens, and we do it in a 10-year funded program. So it's balanced across a 10-year planning horizon, which I think it's safe to say most cities don't do. And it's served us real well in the long run in getting projects built, often ahead of the needs in the community. Now, we slipped a bit in the downturn because we did not see the ability from a financial standpoint to build some of those public facilities, particularly in the northern part of the city, and particularly parks and recreation facilities that kept pace with the rapid development that was occurring right before the downturn. We are committed to getting caught up on that, and we're working hard to not only prioritize our local dollars, but also get grant funds wherever possible to supplement that and to speed up our investment. And some of you will remember back when we had the federal stimulus money, remember that? The city of Peoria was very aggressive in getting federal stimulus money for capital projects, and while a lot of cities around the country were curtailing their capital investments, because of how we were positioned with our 10-year funded plan, we were actually able to accelerate some of our projects, and we got about close to 25%, I think, of the federal stimulus dollars for capital construction that came into all of Maricopa County. So we were very effective in that, and it helped us speed up some of those investments. We continue to be opportunistic like that, although there's no federal stimulus on the horizon, unfortunately. But with that, Andy Granger is our engineering director, and he does a great job of managing these projects, and will give a presentation on the program. Andy?
Thank you, Carl. Mayor, members of the council, I'm pleased to be able to present the fiscal year 16 proposed 10-year capital program budget to you tonight. As we've done over the past several years, we've got a similar format to what we've had, where we'll go through a CIP budget overview, talk to you about some of the funding sources and the trends for our capital budget as far as a funding level is concerned. Talk about accomplishments for fiscal year 15 with some of the capital projects, the significant capital projects that we've completed. Then we'll go into projects that are under construction that'll be completed either later this year or into next fiscal year. Projects under design, some future projects and programs that we have in place, our Community Works update, as we talked about earlier. And then if you have any questions or comments at the end, I'll be happy to take any of those comments. And also feel free, as I'm discussing any of these capital projects, to ask questions during the presentation also. First, this is kind of a standard slide that we've had in our capital program presentations over the last several years. It shows a pie chart of all of our funding sources for our 10-year capital program, which is the 10-year capital program is a $645 million program. This year is funded at $169 million for fiscal year 16, so it's a pretty significant program that's growing, and I'll show that in the next slide. But it shows some of the major funding sources that include GO bonds, revenue bonds, which is our half-cent sales tax that we issue MDA bonds through, enterprise funds, and also our impact fees make up over 50% of the capital budget funding sources. This bar chart shows the economic downturn that we went through several years ago and how we're coming out of that now. That has to do with our tax revenues growing as well as our land valuations growing for our property tax valuation so that we can bond against that in a growing fashion. So at the downturn in the economy in fiscal year 12, you can see where we had a $470 million capital program, which was somewhat of a low point for us, although we did capitalize on a lot of federal funding and we're still able to complete a lot of significant projects through those down years. But we're growing out of that, as you can see, and our program continues to grow to a $645 million 10-year program for next year. some of the accomplishments, and we've got a list of really great accomplishments that we've made over the last year. They include the Lake Pleasant Parkway project from West Wing all the way up to Loop 303, where we were able to rebuild that roadway and realign that roadway to the east so that it provides for future economic development growth along that corridor. Provides an improved roadway, 2 lanes in each direction that can be expanded very easily to 3 lanes, 6-lane roadway, 3 lanes in each direction with a widened median, a concrete sidewalk, meandering sidewalk on the east side, and a horse trail on the west side of the roadway. And it also includes 2 ramadas, covered ramadas along the roadway section for pedestrians and bikers, and even equestrian users along the roadway if they want. That was completed last summer. Camino Lago Neighborhood Park was completed late last fall. We had a ribbon cutting ceremony. It's one of our new neighborhood parks that provides enhanced amenities, including a butterfly amenity, basketball courts, baseball fields adjacent. That was a partnership with the elementary school, the new elementary school, and a misting pad at the Camino Lago Neighborhood Park, which is something new to our neighborhood park program. Skunk Creek Trailhead was also open last fall, provides our first trailhead along our arterial roadway section for equestrian users as well as trail users at 83rd and the Skunk Creek, at the Skunk Creek River. The 91st Avenue Street and Drainage Improvements Project from Butler to Mountain View in the southern portion of the city was completed earlier this year in February. Includes, it's a scallop street project where we had 2 lanes that reduced down to 1 lane and bottlenecked in certain areas along 91st Ave. We improved that roadway section, including curb, gutter, and sidewalk along both sides of the roadway to allow it to have 2 lanes in each direction throughout that roadway section. Include a raised landscape median, which is a theme that we have throughout our new street improvement projects to provide an enhanced sense of community along our roadway sections. Instead of a 2-way left turn lane, we try where it's appropriate and where we can to provide a raised landscape median. We did that there. We did it next to Pioneer Park as part of our 83rd Avenue improvements from Butler to Mountain View also. We think it provides an enhanced aesthetic feel for the area, and we will continue to do that on our streetscape projects in the future. We also, as everybody knows, completed our Phase 2 portion of our sports complex stadium improvements. That included the left field amenity, the tiered social seating area, the party deck along the third base area, the team store, the facade improvements in front of the stadium, as well as the new seats throughout the stadium and many other improvements. The total budget for that was approximately $9.6 million and was completed before last spring training. And we'll talk about the sports complex improvements that are underway as part of the presentation as we go forward. And lastly, but not least, is our P83 Entertainment District improvements that we recently completed just before the spring training, and actually some of it went through spring training, included corner treatments, P83 monument and treatments, as well as pylons along the east side of 83rd from Mariners Way all the way up to Paradise Lane, and included the date palms in the median and improved landscaping along the east side of 83rd Avenue. We'll continue that project. There's one last portion of that Phase 1 of the project that's going to be completed here within the next couple of months, and that's the staggered crosswalk, the Z crossing feature that will provide improved pedestrian crossing from the east side of 83rd Ave to the west side of 83rd Avenue. That project will continue into a Phase 2 improvement that will be part of the presentation here as we go forward also.
Andy, did you have, were you under budget in some of these projects?
Yes, on Lake Pleasant Parkway, we were approximately $1.5 million under budget on that project. And I attribute some of that to, or a lot of it actually, to the alternative delivery method that we used. We used a design-build delivery method on that project, which was basically a 2-step process where, I don't want to get too complex, but we get to shortlist a bunch of qualified contractors and design firms that teamed up together. We shortlisted 3 firms, and then we had them competitively price that project. And because of that, we were assured that we were going to get a quality project from a contractor at a competitive price, which is sometimes not what you get when you just go with a straight low bid on a street project. So because of that and some other value engineering alternatives that came about from that design build team, we were able to save $1.5 million on that project. And that, as you all know, went into the stadium improvements project, the phase 2 or the phase 3 portion of the stadium improvements project that is currently underway.
Great, thanks.
Also on the 91st Avenue Street Improvements Project, we were able to save about approximately $500,000 on that project as part of that. And then the last portion for the phase 3 improvements was the Truck Road Reliever Project, also had a project savings of approximately $1.5 million.
Not a bad day's work, huh?
Next, we'll talk about some of the projects we've got under construction for the next fiscal year. They include the Vistantia Commercial Core infrastructure, the Deer Valley Road improvements, the New River Trail from Northern to Olive Avenue, and the sports complex improvements, the phase 3 portions. For the Vistantia Commercial Core, this project's underway. It's a development agreement between the City of Peoria and Vistantia LLC for Vistantia to actually construct this section of roadway from Vistantia Boulevard up to Lone Mountain. It's going to provide a street improvement, which will include 2 lanes in each direction, raised landscape median, and some improved bridge aesthetics, as you can see in some of these pictures. It also includes the installation of the dry utilities, the drainage, the water, and the sewer, all of the improvements that are needed to make sure that we're shovel-ready for the Vistantia Commercial Core area. That's the intent of this project. We've got a development agreement in place that we've also got an agreement with Vistantia LLC that if we don't land in an economic development project as part of this roadway improvements, then they're obligated to either repay our $6.7 million or donate 50 acres of land east of this improvement to us under a certain time frame. And that's all spelled out in the development agreement. This project is expected to be complete in early May of this year and open to the public, and it'll improve the transportation and circulation in this area greatly.
Councilmember Leon.
Yeah, I just want to ask you a question on that trail from Olive to Northern. When is that going to be done? I know they're working on it now.
Yeah, we anticipate, that's going to be one of my next slides here, but we anticipate that to be completed this summer.
Okay.
Any more questions?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Our next slide, or our next project that we want to present is our Deer Valley Road improvements from 109th Avenue to Lake Pleasant Parkway. This project was created out of a county project for the Deer Valley Road crossing from the El Mirage area, the Surprise area to the west, to 109th Avenue, that was going to increase the traffic on Deer Valley Road from approximately 12,000 cars per day up to about 30,000 cars per day. So we created a project to help reduce the impacts to the neighborhood from those traffic impacts. It included intersection improvements at 107th Avenue to provide a signalized intersection, raised landscape median along that area for traffic mitigation and traffic calming. It improves the landscape basin on the northeast corner of 107th Avenue in Deer Valley, and adjacent wall improvements, which would be part of the phase 2 portion of this project. And let me explain more about that. Right now, we're not sure when the county project is going to go forward, but we wanted to move forward with some of the streetscape improvements that we had. So we're moving forward with we phased this project so that the roadway improvements will be part of the phase 1 improvements, and then there's a phase 2 portion that we don't have a schedule for, and it's basically we're waiting and we're communicating very closely with the county on when their project will move forward, and in anticipation of that, we'll move forward with the phase 2 portion of our improvements, which will include intersection improvements at 109th Avenue in Deer Valley, as well as the raising of the wall to mitigate some of the noise concerns and traffic congestion or traffic volumes along Deer Valley. So the design is complete for that project. We plan to go out to bid for this project. This will be a low bid project for us. And we anticipate starting construction in the summer of this year for this project, and we anticipate it to be about a 9-month project. So it should be done in early of 2016. And the total budget for this is $3.8 million, The $2.3 million in fiscal year 15 that's going to get carried over to fiscal year 16 as part of that Phase 1 portion of the project. Now, the project that Councilman Leone was referring to is our New River Trail from Northern to Olive, which is currently under construction. It's a federally funded project, or a partially federally funded project, that includes a combination of asphalt and concrete path with handrails, drinking fountain, and landscaping from Northern to Olive. And it completes this, the Peoria southern leg of the New River Trail. When this is completed, we will connect to the Glendale's trail system, and we will have a continuous trail from Northern all the way up to Williams Road, as far as a continuous trail system throughout the city of Peoria. And we are in efforts to continue that trail north here in the future also.
Are we gonna have any, lights on there or something? There's, I get people asking me about, about lights. They like to go walk through there at night or something, and there's no lights, and they're kind of scared that you might see homeless people there or something, or coyotes coming through.
We currently don't have lights
Did I
across
say
our...
a joke? Oh. I thought I said a joke.
One of the continuous, Councilman Leone, mayors and members of the council, one of the things that we've evaluated over the past is adding the lighting along the trail system, and it's been, something that's a double-edged sword as far as the maintenance of the lights. There's a lot of vandalism with the lights, as well as the power, the electricity for the lights. So we've looked at that. At some of the underpasses at like the Skunk Creek Bridge, we've had added lights in those areas where it's a little bit darker, and places where you potentially might find people that you may not want to find along the trail system. So we've lighted those areas, but the entire trail system isn't lighted at this time.
I know there's some areas, like from Peoria on up, right behind the mobile home parks. Now, they don't want the lights.
Adjacent, the other thing is adjacent neighborhoods and the,
So you're gonna get both sides, one lights and one doesn't. The
Right.
ones who want the lights probably don't even live in the area. But the ones who don't want it live in the area, so.
Right.
Okay.
but it is not part of the scope of this project. And as I stated earlier, this project is anticipated to be complete in the summer of this year. As I stated earlier, our Phase 3 stadium improvements are underway now that spring training has ended. The bleachers along the third base line have already been taken out, and we'll start construction of the expansion of the third base seating bowl and the underneath social seating area that will provide a 200-person event space, a conditioned event space with a glazing system across the front for a social seating area that can be in front of there. And a new type of a social amenity for our stadium. It also includes the interactive kid zone. Both of these are planned to be completed before our next spring training. The actual expansion of the third base seating bowl is anticipated to be completed by early October in anticipation of being complete before the fall, our baseball fall league starts. And the fiscal year 16 budget for this is $3.6 million. We've got a significant amount of projects that are in design for fiscal year 2016. Here's a list of all of our projects that we are currently in design with, or will be starting design in fiscal year 2016, and we'll go through each of these individually. First, our Pinnacle Peak Public Safety Building Expansion Project. We actually went out for a solicitation today for a design, this is a one-step design build, another alternative delivery method that we have in place that we're going to utilize for this project, where a contractor and an engineer will team up and provide a request for proposals where they provide their qualifications, and we'll shortlist and select a design build team that will go forward and design and construct the Pinnacle Peak Public Safety Facility expansion. As you know, last year we purchased approximately 6.1 acres north of the existing facility for this expansion. And this will include the roadway improvements along Pinnacle Peak and 102nd Avenue as part of this project. They're two separate projects, but we decided to include them since they need to be done at the same time for access to the Pinnacle Peak Safety Facility. The funded portion of this project is the initial 15,000 square foot Phase 1 portion of the building that will help expand the existing facility and allow for new space. The police department at the northern facility is congested right now. They're having to share offices, and this will help as far as jail facilities and office space for all of the police, law enforcement officers up north. Do we have a question?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. I want to go back to that other map, that 99th Avenue from Butler to Olive. It's not there. Anyway, from Butler to Olive, 99th Avenue, when is that going to be completed?
We will have a slide on that for you, too.
Huh?
We will talk about that. We've got a slide for each of these projects, so we will talk about the 99th Ave street improvements also here in a minute.
And you'll also talk about, I guess, a community park?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
So I have a question about the Pinnacle Peak Public Safety Facility. Is there an inclusion for conference space there? They have one conference room now that's pretty small. Is there going to be more open space for the public to meet?
I will have to follow up on that as far as, we have master planned some of the space. And actually, as part of our master plan, we have future land area capacity for a future community center services building like we have downtown. But I would have to check with Ed Striffler, our lead architect, who isn't here tonight. But I can follow up with you on
Okay,
that and figure out what kind of meeting space we have in that master plan for that first phase.
Okay.
So this project, as I stated, is out for solicitation. We plan to start select a design build contractor this summer and start the design process this summer, and anticipate being under construction hopefully by the spring of 2016. And we anticipate construction to be approximately 12 to 18 months for our construction schedule. So middle of 2017, we should have an expanded Pinnacle Peak public safety facility for our police department. And as it shows here, our project budget is $11.1 million for the expansion of the facility, as well as $1.1 million allocated towards street improvements along Pinnacle Peak and 102nd Avenue. And just to be clear for the neighbors that may be listening to this, that Pinnacle Peak portion improvements will not be to an arterial standard. It's going to be more of a rural standard. It's going to be a 32-foot wide paved section with ribbon curb and sidewalk on one side. So it'll have more of a rural feel to it, and it will end at 102nd Avenue. It will not be punched through.
It's county on the west side? Yes. Or east side?
Well, it's county on the north side, and it's city on the south side. We don't have all the land to go
102nd, you mean?
forward, and we don't really have the traffic volumes to warrant building the ultimate improvements at this point over to 107th Avenue. The next project we have is our 103rd Avenue improvements from Northern to Olive. This project in our last capital year was a half-street improvement on the west side. We had geotechnical issues and a lot of heaving along the northern portion of 103rd Avenue on the west side. The whole road will need to be rebuilt. It's an old Glendale landfill along the west side that some of that debris was buried underneath 103rd Avenue, and that's why we're having some geotechnical issues. We've actually done some geotechnical investigation along that portion of roadway, and it's not as bad as we initially had thought it would be. A lot of it's shallow waste that we can dig up and haul off and reconstruct that roadway. We also have a future development at the southeast corner of 103rd Avenue and Olive Avenue, and they're interested in dedicating right-of-way along that section of roadway to us at no cost, as long as we promise to provide them the improvements along there. So we're in the process of negotiating that out, and we think we can get the full street improvements along 103rd Avenue from Northern to Olive. Our DCR, our design concept report, is complete for 103rd Avenue. We've selected a final design consultant that we will have under contract this month or next month, and we plan to start the final design and anticipation for construction in spring of 2016. Our project budget for fiscal year 16 is $4.8 million, and our overall total project budget is $5.1 million.
Councilmember Leone, do you have any questions?
I know all about that. All I want to know is that when they start doing the street, are they going to block up one side so people can get in there and out? Are they going to cut it off altogether halfway, then go down?
We'll have to work, we don't have a contractor selected for this project right now, but there will be multiple traffic control configurations in place during this project, but we will always provide access to the adjacent neighborhoods, and we will work with the adjacent neighborhoods to make sure that they are comfortable with it.
They're going to pay half that street?
No, they will not pay for half the street. The agreement will be that they will dedicate right-of-way for us, and then we will build the roadway improvements for them.
They'll give us the money?
They'll dedicate the road-of-way for us,
Oh, okay.
yeah. The right-of-way, I should say, sorry.
When are you going to start that, by the way?
The development or the street? The construction is in, we're scheduled right now to start in spring of 2016 for the construction.
Okay. Thank you.
The next two projects you'll see are very similar in nature, and they've been presented in past capital programs. Our 75th Avenue and Cactus Road intersection improvements, and we've got a 75th and Peoria, 75th Avenue and Peoria Avenue intersection improvements project. That's the next project. They both will provide, when completed, 2 through lanes in each direction, plus bike lanes, dual left turn lanes at all legs of the intersection, or the capacity for dual left turn lanes. Sometimes we, instead of completing and striping the dedicated dual left turn lanes, we provide a single lane so that we can do the flashing yellow configuration, but it will be very easily expandable to dual left turn lanes when the traffic volumes suggest that we need to do that. Dedicated right turn lanes, raised medians, and it'll install a storm drain and water line through these intersections. The design is in progress. We had one public meeting a couple weeks ago that I thought was very successful. We listened to the adjacent commercial businesses' concerns. We're addressing those now, and we will move forward into furthering the design process and meeting with those commercial businesses to try and meet all of their needs. We're scheduled right now for utility relocation and right-of-way acquisition to take place in fiscal year 16 and construction to start in fiscal year 17 on both projects. We anticipate constructing both of these projects in tandem. We think that that's the most efficient way to do it with the least impact. There will be impacts at both of these intersections, but we hope with enough planning and getting the utility relocation and right-of-way acquisition in place early that we can minimize the construction schedule and therefore the impacts to the adjacent businesses. Both projects are federally funded with Highway Safety Improvement Program funds. This project, 75th and Cactus, has $5.4 million in federal funds allocated to it, and Peoria funds $3.3 million for a total budget of $8.7 million. This is one of those projects where once we get further in design, we anticipate hopefully going back for additional federal funds and hopefully reducing our local match on this project, but we have got to get it further along on the project before we do that.
Mr. Finn.
Sorry, quick question. I might have missed it. If I did, I apologize. What exactly are we trying to gain out of this particular project here? I've seen some of the other ones. They need some, expansion, different things. I lived through 75th Avenue in Thunderbird and heard from the business owners that were in that intersection and how much they struggled, and I think a couple of businesses didn't make it. So I have a lot of concern about these next two projects, just like I said, because I lived through it at 75th and Thunderbird, and I take back all the bad things I said about you when I was driving through there. Well, most of them anyways. So I have a meeting later on in the month, and I can probably get some of those questions answered, but I really have some concern about the business owners, the ones that have signed 5-year leases and all of a sudden massive road construction that could really hurt their business and potentially put them out of business. So I have a lot of concern about these next two projects and how they're going to roll out. So I'll just leave it at that. I know I have a meeting later on in the month to talk to you guys about it, but I just wanted to kind of voice my concerns tonight.
Yeah, and we can provide you, Councilman Finn, with a lot more detail at that meeting. But from a 30,000-foot level, the biggest thing that this does is it improves the traffic flow through the intersections. These intersections will grow and with development and traffic volumes increase. So adding the dual left turn lanes and adding the right turn lanes help with traffic flow through the intersection. And then the second issue is safety. And we have statistics that show that 75th Avenue and Thunderbird has reduced the amount of accidents at that intersection since the construction has been complete. We anticipate the same thing to happen here. The 75th and Cactus and the 75th and Peoria intersections are both in our top 5 frequency of accidents at these intersections. So that's the main purpose, is safety, but traffic flow is also an issue at both of
Okay.
these intersections.
Yeah, I would love to be able to at least speak to those statistics with people in neighborhoods and tell them kind of why we're doing this. And you've probably forgotten more about traffic than I'll ever know in my entire lifetime. So I trust you guys know what you're doing. I just need to have some pretty good speaking points when people are asking me about why in the world are we doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd be real happy to provide that for you, and even attend meetings with you, so we can explain that in more detail, whatever's helpful.
Okay.
Sure.
Thanks.
And so I won't go into a lot of detail of the 75th and Peoria Avenue intersection project, but it's very similar in nature. It's actually going to be being designed by the same consultant and will be constructed by the same contractor. And we think that provides a lot of efficiencies for traffic control and hopefully minimizes the amount of impacts to the adjacent neighborhoods and the traveling public that goes through both of these intersections every day. And that's a benefit. Our contractor that we're going to have on board is actually going to have 2 teams, one for the 75th and Cactus intersection and one for the 75th and Peoria intersection. And they've committed to working very closely with the adjacent commercial businesses as well as the residents in the area to help improve with information that when we change traffic control, ongoing issues that come up in the project and updated schedules throughout the project to hopefully minimize the impacts that we have. We know we're going to have impacts, but if we can improve the communication throughout the project, we hope that it reduces the amount of impacts as much as possible. This project has $5.9 million of federal funds associated with it and city funds of $2.1 million. Again, we'll try and add to the amount of federal funds that we can have towards this project or commit towards this project to reduce our local match requirement as much as possible. The next project is the continuation of our P83 Entertainment District Improvement Project from 83rd Avenue south of Bell. This is the Phase 2 portion. We're going to continue the project and add corner treatments along Paradise Lane and Arrowhead Fountain Center Drive. We also we're looking to scope in the design of the bridge treatment over the Skunk Creek, as well as the design of potential gateway features. We're looking at potentially adding an overhead gateway feature at the bridge that identifies that you're entering into the Peoria 83 Entertainment District, as well as one just south of Bell Road. We're trying to refine those concepts now, but that could potentially be part of the Phase 2 improvements. We're also looking at signage along the Loop 101 and improving that signage to give it improve aesthetics that identified it as part of the P83 district. So those are just some of the few scoping improvements that we're looking at as part of the Phase 2 improvements. The fiscal year 16 budget is $3.9 million. We anticipate to probably do this in certain segments where if the bridge improvements have been designed and the gateway feature has been designed, we may go out with a design or a construction package to complete that portion that's separate from the corner treatment portion. It'll improve efficiencies and help us manage our costs so that we can be most effective throughout that district.
Andy, do you have a public process set up already or anticipated?
We anticipate having at least one public meeting to go through several design concepts on bridge aesthetics, as well as our gateway features, as well as showing where our corner treatments will be on Paradise Lane, as well as Arrowhead Fountain Center Drive.
I would recommend that we have more than one public meeting. We've had a lot of responses, obviously, from the signage that we have right now, and so we don't want people to feel that they have not been included in any way. So we want to make sure that we are talking to our not only the business owners in the area, but the residents as
Yeah,
well.
I agree. We really haven't definitively scoped out what the Phase 2 improvements are going to be. We actually had a site walk with our consultant and our contractor that did the Phase 1 improvements. Last week, we walked the entire section. We walked Arrowhead Fountain Center Drive. We looked at the possibilities of what can be. They've got grandiose visions. We've got a budget of $4 million, so we're going to look at how we can be most impactful with our funds that we have. But we do plan on having at least one, I'll say one public meeting. If it goes really well and everybody loves it, then great. If not, then we're going to come back with additional concepts, and you could probably anticipate at least a couple of public
You need
meetings.
minimum two.
Sure,
Yeah, even if the first one goes well, you need to have a second one.
sure.
What is a Z crossing?
The Z crossing is between Mariners and Stadium Way, and it's an enhanced public crossing or public crosswalk that it's a staggered crosswalk essentially that we've got in front of all of our high schools now that provides refuge in the middle of the street. This one has improved aesthetics, so it's enhanced, and it's really trying for us to encourage pedestrians to use that instead of just meandering across 83rd Ave anywhere. Yeah. Yep.
Vice Mayor Edwards?
Andy, in Phase 2, are we going to incorporate the, putting some cutaways in the existing brick wall of the businesses on the west side of 83rd Avenue? Because I know, talking with the businesses, when the Z crossing is put in, that won't alleviate some of the problems because they'll have to cross the street and then go to either Mariners Way or the other exit. So we need to make sure we've got some cutaways so that the people can get through to the businesses.
Yeah, that's our intent. As I stated earlier, the Z crossing was actually a remnant of the Phase 1 improvements that we couldn't get completed before spring training, so we're going to start it here as soon as possible. And part of the scope of the Z crossing improvements is to cut away a certain portion of that wall and improve and connect to the adjacent businesses on both, and the parking lot and the stadium parking lot.
Make sure you get with the HOA for that area and work with them to find out the most appropriate locations to do those cuts so that it impacts the businesses, it gets more people to the businesses quicker.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Another project that we have that we've started the initial schematic design process for is the 99th Avenue and Olive Avenue trailhead. It's one of our proposed trailheads for connection to our trail system. It's currently proposed at the 99th Ave future alignment and Olive Avenue on the south side, and you can see it here that's shaded in yellow as our future trailhead. This site has some challenges associated with it. We've got some natural habitat there, some burrowing owls that we've got to look out for and either relocate or build around. It's got a wash that goes through it that discharges into the wash. And it's also got what we believe is some more remnants of waste from unregulated landfills. So we are going to go out and do geotechnical investigation on this, as well as locate the natural habitat and figure out the site design and make sure that this is a reality for this trailhead before we move forward. That's where we are right now. The scope for this project is that we will add parking, shaded rest areas, drinking fountains, and trash and recycling amenities that we do that are part of our trailhead system, and pet waste receptacles. And it's going to be designed for pedestrians and equestrian users to utilize this future trailhead. We're currently starting the geotechnical investigation, starting site concepts, and looking at land acquisition with the property owner of this site, and looking forward to going to final design in fiscal year 16, and this has a project budget of $1.5 million. The 99th Avenue street improvement project that was referenced earlier from Butler to Olive Avenue will improve the existing roadway condition, which needs to be basically rebuilt. Again, this was built on top of an unregulated landfill. We will have to do some cleanup associated with it within the right-of-way to rebuild the 99th Avenue alignment in its existing location. And the improvements will include pavement, sidewalk along the east side of 99th Avenue, and drainage as required across this roadway section.
Now, they're gonna,
Go ahead.
now they're gonna take out that dip
We'll look at where we can take out dips and provide drainage culverts underneath the roadway as much as possible to improve the safety of the roadway as well as the condition of the asphalt itself.
The other question I have, I understand that, but years ago, I think Jeff was around then, maybe the budget, they're supposed to build a bridge over Olive. And we gave the money to up north in the Ironwood district. Is there any way that we're going to build that bridge again?
I would say it isn't in our current capital project budget. We've estimated the project to cost anywhere from $15 to $18 million just because of the bridge and the realignment of the roadway. So right now, it's not being able to be accommodated in our capital program, but we do anticipate with this project, we will improve that roadway along 99th Avenue in its current alignment, and then we will look in the future to programming the project.
Because you're going to have
in
a
its
lot of
ultimate
traffic
alignment.
on 99th and Olive, people trying to get out to cross Olive, and there's no light there. And when you build all those new homes at Park West, it's going to be a heck of a job. Right now, if you go down there in the morning, you'll see a line of cars backed up about almost a half a mile to get across. So that bridge could bring them over into what, Sun City? That was supposed to go?
It'll put it into its ultimate alignment along 99th Avenue, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
So this project is scheduled to start design in fiscal year 16 and for construction to start in fiscal year 17 for this project. And the total budget for this project is $3.4 million. Our next project is the North Peoria Community Park project, which we anticipate to be in the vicinity of Loop 303 and Lake Pleasant Parkway. In the schematic to on the right side of the slide, you can see 3 potential sites for the North Peoria Community Park. We've just started the kickoff for the initial siting study for this project. It's going to include what we think are lighted ball fields, playgrounds, dog parks, and trails, and other amenities similar to what we've got at Pioneer Community Park as part of a phase 1. But we will, which is approximately about 80 acres of improvements, horizontal park improvements. But we are planning to plan a master plan to accommodate future a recreational facility or an aquatic center. So what we're looking for in our best site is 120 acres. 80 acres would be a phase 1 improvement for the park, which is currently budgeted, and with the future 40 acres for a recreational facility similar to what we have at Rio Vista, or potentially even an aquatic center as part of that master plan. And we'll conduct, obviously, public meetings as part of that process to determine what is most important to the residents and citizens in the area. The purpose for the siting study is we've got some different sites that we think are feasible. The past thought was that we've got a current recreational use easement on a BLM parcel at the 99th Avenue alignment just north of Tierra del Rio. That's an 160-acre site. However, a lot of that is encumbered by the Agua Fria River, and it's a large portion of it has washes that run through it. And it's probably not feasible that we could get a 120-acre master plan site just on that Bureau of Land Management parcel, even though we've got the rights to build a park on it. So we're going to look at that site, as well as we've got 2 other sites. One is behind the New River Dam and the levee east of Lake Pleasant Parkway, which is shown as site number 3 on the slide. This site has its unique site characteristics with it. One, it is owned by the Bureau of Land Management. It's got a flood control district lease or easement over it, and it's regulated by the Army Corps of Engineers because it's behind a dam. So we're going to have to work with all 3 of those entities to determine. However,
No problem at all.
that's on the negative side. On the positive side, it's an ideal site for a park, we think. The backdrop of the mountains just north of West Wing would make it a perfect site for a park amenity. It's separated from our developed residential communities as well as future residential communities in the area, so you won't have problems with lighted ball fields. It's adjacent to Lake Pleasant Parkway. We think we just think it would be an ideal site for a park, as long as we can get through all of the other jurisdictions, regulations, and potentially site a park at this location. But that's why we have to go through the siting study and provide the feasibility for putting it there versus one of these other sites or potentially another site. The benefits of these 3 sites are they're all owned by the federal government. They're all BLM land with other easements over them, or at least the 2 sites, the number 2 and 3 site. If one of these sites didn't work and we'd have to go to a private property owner or to state land, we would have to purchase 120 acres, and it would be a significant impact to our $30 million budget. So that's why we want to go through this process first. We've got a $450,000 budget for fiscal year 16 to do that siting study and preliminary design of a park. And then in fiscal year 17 is the final design budget of $1.75 million. And then the ultimate construction is budgeted in fiscal year 18 at $28.3 million for a total budget of $30.5 million.
And so that is phase 1 would be in 2018.
2018, which we anticipate we can start July of 2017 is obviously the fiscal year 18 start of the budget. So, and we, if things go well and all of the other jurisdictions are acceptable, I mean, there's going to be studies that have to be conducted, cultural resource studies that have to be conducted, hydrology and hydraulics analysis that have to be done behind the New River Dam. But we think it's potentially a feasible site for that Site 3, but we do have to look at other sites because of the potential for not being able to build behind that dam.
Yeah, and anything we can do to speed up that process, we are, because we know it's been a long time coming for the residents in that part of the city. And so that's a high priority for us to do that.
So when do you anticipate the results of the study coming back, the location studies?
We are meeting with the flood control. We had an initial meeting, a get-to-know each other meeting, and show our interest in this site approximately 6 months ago with the Flood Control District. And we will have a follow-up meeting with them at the end of this month where we can provide them more detail on what we're looking to do on that site. Initially, we were looking at a site to the north of that Site 3 that you can see the shaded areas next to that Site 3, and underneath that Site 3 is flood-prone areas. It's part of the flood zone. If you look to the north of that, it's not shaded, and we were looking at that area potentially for a future park. But the Flood Control District has different aspirations for that parcel, and they've said they're not interested in conveying any type of rights to the city of Peoria for a park there, but they are looking. They said that site that we've got shaded as the site number 3 is a viable site for a park. So that gives us hope that we can look at that and evaluate this site, and that's what the purpose of the meeting at the end of this month is, to pursue those.
Are their
pursue that site.
aspirations going to be compatible with our aspirations for a park?
Well, they're looking at potentially the Flood Control District is looking for any type of revenue-generating opportunities that they've got, and because that isn't in a part of the floodway or the flood zone, they think that they can potentially modify that levee, which has a cost to it, but they think that there's a cost-benefit analysis that can be done that shows that it's warranted to potentially modify that levee, take that out of the dam area, and potentially sell that off for commercial real estate.
Multifamily?
I
That's what it sounds like. Well, so,
I don't think they've gotten that far.
yeah, well, can we annex that in before they decide what goes there? I mean, isn't that already in our planning area?
It's in our planning area.
So,
Yeah.
so
And-
how are they planning it?
It's in our city, Mayor.
Yeah.
Okay, well, how is the county deciding what needs to go there?
Well, they own the land. The Flood Control District owns that
Oh,
parcel.
they just outright own the land? And they plan on developing it themselves?
No, they would sell it, yeah. But they would sell it for $20 million, is what their ballpark figure was,
Along our Lake Pleasant Parkway
which
and 303 area?
I will tell you that will not happen in the near future. I mean, this is one of their long-term goals, and it's something that they don't want encumbered with a future park site. So it's not something that's going to happen in the next few years.
Mayor, if I could, I believe that property on our general plan is designated as open space, so there would need to be a general plan amendment, probably a rezoning, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm sure.
Right at the 303 in Lake Pleasant Parkway? Open
Behind the
space?
levee on the
Oh.
floodplain side.
Are you talking about behind the levee?
Yeah, they
Oh,
would
okay,
modify
I'm
the
sorry, I
levee.
thought you were talking about right on Lake Pleasant Parkway.
Sorry, no.
Okay. All right, then, I don't mind.
Mayor,
Yeah,
because
never
they're
mind.
under our land use designation, all of that would have to be gone through and approved by mayor and council in the future, any change to that
Okay.
designation. And first, they would have to get the floodplain designation changed.
Well, you said that one's not designated floodplain, right?
Yeah, that's not in the floodplain, but it's still under regulation of the Army Corps because it
Yeah,
is part
it
of the new
still
river dam.
is.
So there would be certain studies that they would have to conduct to modify that levee.
That's not an automatic action that they can take unilaterally.
And it's not a project that they've got as part of their budget right now either.
Well,
It's a long-term
Ms.
goal.
Binsbacher, do you have any questions? Okay.
When, did you say when you thought, I'm sorry if you already said this, when the studies would be complete?
The difficulty there is we don't know what the different regulatory jurisdictions are going to have us go through and their type of review timeframes. We hope to have better information by the end of the summer, this fall, but that doesn't mean that our siting study will be complete. But we could definitely come back to council this fall with a study session to tell you where we are as far as the siting study and give you a status update on where we are.
Okay, so the targeted starting point here for this for fiscal year 16, where in 2016 are you anticipating you'd be at that stage?
Well, we've kicked off the siting study. So we're in the process of putting together schematic design for a potential park site behind that New River Dam that we could show the flood control district, to show them what we're proposing to do.
Okay.
And then they can tell us, no, that's not going to work, or yes, it's going to work, but you're going to have to go through and these types of studies to analyze what the impacts will be on the dam itself. Because what they're looking for is that's the impoundment area for the dam that protects all of the downstream development. So we cannot go and modify that impoundment area and reduce it. So that's where we'll have to go through an evaluation, and they're going to tell us where we can build and where we can't build. And then we'll have to go through the Bureau of Land Management, we'll have to go through Army Corps of Engineers also.
Okay.
So to just maybe put a little more definition to that. So when you build in an area like that, they can still impound water over ball fields. But when we start to look at building buildings or structures, then we have to build those, in an area that's outside of the impoundment area. And so that's the type of analysis, right, Andy?
Yes.
So, yeah, so it doesn't, because it's in an impoundment area, it doesn't mean that we couldn't use it for ball fields and things of that nature. So that's the analysis.
Okay. It sounds like a long process. At what stage do you have public meetings? Do you begin the public meetings to engage the community?
I think what our preference is that we find what we feel is the most viable site and develop certain schematic site plans with proposed amenities on them that we think that, and with various amenities and alternative amenities that the public can comment on. But until we come up with what we think is a viable site, I wouldn't recommend that we have a public meeting until
Right,
that
okay.
point.
And so, and ideally, when would you see that happening, being to that point?
My hope is later this year we'll be able
Okay.
to come up with a refined site. And it may not be that we still are probably going to have to go through a permitting process, and it could be potentially fairly lengthy with the Army Corps of Engineers especially. But that doesn't mean that we don't think this is unrealistic as far as our construction schedule is concerned.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
But if I might add just one more thing there, I think it probably would be good, recognizing your interest, and we absolutely understand, moving this along as fast as possible. Maybe what we could do, Mayor, is schedule some study session time right after the summer break, either at the August meeting or maybe the first meeting in September, something like that, and give you all an update of what Andy and the team have found, so you'll be up to date right when we are in terms of the progress. Would that be helpful?
I think that's a really good idea, and I would suggest that members of the council take a chance, take a ride, go out and see this area, because the part that Andy is talking about as number 3 on there is beautiful. It would be just a tremendous sight, and sometimes, we might have to wait a little bit longer to get the best site, but it would be better in the long run. But having said that, the waiting longer thing, Phase 1 is the only thing that is in our capital improvement program. So that is getting a flat park, basically. So there's no vertical buildings, there's no improvements to that park after 2018 for the remainder of the CIP as I'm looking at it now. So I would like to request that that you look at ways to fund the second phase, the vertical portion, the other amenities of this park in the CIP.
Yeah, we'll do, and this was touched on, obviously, in your work session, your workshop as well, and I think it's pretty clear what those other elements might be, in terms of a community center, an aquatic center, possibly expanding into an interpretive center for the open space acquisition and recognition of the historical artifacts in the region. We'll put this into an analysis that we can look going forward, because there'll be a number of other needs that I know the council is going to be interested in hearing about as well, in terms of that quality of life vision and goals that you all have.
This will give us an opportunity for this particular project to define what those might be, or at least come up with an assessment of possible expenses.
Excellent. Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay.
Susan was just telling me we've got about a half an hour more to go. Is that
Yes.
is that correct?
Yes.
So how are you feeling, Mayor? We committed to break it at 8. It's 8. Do you want us to finish this, or do you want us to start here when we come back together on Wednesday?
I have just had a request to end.
Okay. Okay. Good.
And I
Yeah.
would kind of like to keep to our
Yep.
specified time frame. So if it's the pleasure of the council, I'd like to go ahead and end at 8 o'clock.
Sure.
Okay, good. Then we'll take up where we left off next time.
And
you, Mayor and
to Councilmember Hunt's earlier question, we will send out a detailed list of exactly what we're going to talk about and in the order we're going to talk about. Well, okay,
Right.
a clear list.
We'll
How's
send
that?
out an email, make sure you understand what is coming up in the next budget.
I do want to say, though, that this has been really a fun evening, very
Great.
enlightening, and all our speakers were well-informed.
Thank you, and appreciate all the great questions and comments. Obviously, you came well prepared, and we appreciate that. Thank you.